Hello, this is Science Fiction Snob. There have been a number of Dune announcements lately. Brian Herbert is on a Dune contracting spree. Let's look at what's coming up and speculate on what that means. There's been lots of Dune-related news recently. Check out my other video if you want some news on the Dune movie that's coming out November 2020. Link in the description. First thing, let's look at this Brian Herbert tweet. No new info is involved, but he talks about two other contracts. The first, originally he talked about 3 contracts. The first contract for it was with a game company, which is what we're going to talk about in this video. But I just wanted to, before we went on, I wanted to note that he has 2 other contracts for something in the works. We have no other information about that, but of course we'll cover it here on Science Fiction Snob when more information is released. Now, these other 2 contracts, just a little more speculation. I would not think that they're video games, since he's got a contract with Funcom for up to 3 games over 6 years. I can't see that it would be a book, since that he usually writes his books with Kevin J. Anderson, and I don't see why they would need a new contract for that. I mean, they've done it many times. I don't think that would be a big announcement. They would just carry on with an existing contract, or he would just say, I'm writing another book. So, not sure what that's about. We're going to have to watch. Maybe could be for a comic book, could be for a board game, something like that. We'll have to wait and see, but we'll get that out of the way. So it's a bit of new information that has come up. So I just wanted you to know about that before we talk about the one of the 3 contracts that we do know about, which is the contract with Funcom. So let's talk about that. Before we do, let's go on to a little bit about what kind of video games Dune has made in the past. So there's been 2 Dune board games released in 1979 and 1984. We're not going to talk about those, but let's talk about the video games, since that's what the contract was announced for. So the first video game was called Dune, and it was an interactive strategy game. It's very popular, but very old now. But it was more of an interactive story type game where you could not quite choose your own adventure, but you could go and make strategic choices when you're going through the story. Okay, that is not what I'm picturing here. This is released in the same year, Dune 2. This is Dune 2, a picture of Dune 2. Probably the best known Dune game, released by Westwood Studios, who did the Command & Conquer series. And this is widely recognized as the first real-time strategy game. I remember when this came out, this was very groundbreaking, the first RTS. And this is what Westwood uses their basis for all their Command & Conquer stuff. They made this game first, and then they did their own series. Dune 2 received a remake called Dune 2000, which was released in 2000, of course, and a sequel in 2001 called Emperor Battle for Dune. Now this is this is it here. You can see very similar to the RTS games of the Command & Conquer series, updated graphics, all that good stuff. There was also another 3D interactive video game similar to the first Dune, released in 2001, called Frank Herbert's Dune. The game failed commercially and critically, and the company who made it, Cryo Interactive, filed for bankruptcy after. Also in 2001, Dune Generations was cancelled. It was supposed to be an online real-time strategy game with a persistent world, similar to an MMO. It would have 3 dynasty types: trader, mercenary, soldier. Players would control their home world, and then through conflict and alliances seek the long-term goal of controlling Arrakis. So let's look at Dune Generations a little bit. Here is the opening, the box art that was supposed to go with it. They got that, at least got that far. And let's take a look at the, this is a picture of some gameplay. You can see some vehicles down there firing some sort of blue lasers at something. So graphics a little bit dated, but real-time strategy in an open world type of thing. Players would, they would, once they've set their home world, could travel through space and I assume attack other players who would be set up on other planets. So interesting concept. Didn't make it out to be, was canceled before it could be released. Next, let's look at the Funcom press release from last week. So you can see right here, Funcom enters exclusive partnership with Legendary Studios, which is the Frank Herbert, the name for the company that license out the Dune properties, the Dune movies, etc. So Funcom enters into an exclusive partnership with Legendary Studios for games in the Dune universe. Funcom has entered into an exclusive partner with Legendary Studios to develop games based on the works of Frank Herbert's Dune, one of the world's best-known science fiction universes with multiple adaptations in movies, games, and other media. Yeah, for sure. So, key part of this, 6-year partnership to release at least 3 titles on PC console platforms, with one of the game planned to be in an open world multiplayer. Note that it says, whenever I hear open world multiplayer, I always think of World of Warcraft, open world multiplayer RPG, and that is the most common open world multiplayer games. However, they don't say open world multiplayer RPG, so that leads me to believe that perhaps it's not an RPG. Perhaps it's something else. My view is that if you look at the World of Warcraft numbers for their MMO, they've been losing subscribers. They're down to about 1.7 million from a high of, I believe it was 10 or 12 million at one point. So the article I read talks about the latest release of their latest expansion. Had them at pushed them up to 3.2 million subscribers, and now they're down to 1.7 million about 6 months later. So that's almost a 50% drop over a 6 month plus period. That leads me to believe that open world MMO RPGs are dying. And let's say that Funcom were to release an MMO RPG just based in the Dune universe. With subscribers dropping, why would subscribers, anyone who likes MMO RPGs are probably playing something else now, like World of Warcraft. Why would they dump WoW when they've had hours and hours, countless hours in that, to start up something new? Maybe they would if it was a really good property and was really well done, but I think you'd have to have some sort of revolutionary product in order to have people jump ship for something like that. So maybe they do, maybe they don't. We'll have to see. I just feel it's less likely that they would do something like that and repeat what other people have done, and repeat what Funcom has done in other universes, which I will demonstrate to you in a few minutes when I go over what games that Funcom has done. Funcom was founded in 1993, so it's over 25 years old. That's pretty good for a game company. Not all of them last that long. They're best known for the following games: Anarchy Online. You can see a picture right here, which is a pretty standard third-person RPG MMO, but it is the first and longest-running science fiction MMO. They also released Age of Conan, which is both of these you can still play. So that is more of like a classic MMO in a fantasy type setting. You can see just looking at the picture here, it's got that old style MMO look, similar to WoW and Anarchy Online. A more recent release from them is Conan Exiles, which is also similar, but you can see from the UI here that it's more of a it's more modernized, less of all the the details on the side, more modern style of game, more modern graphics. It's still an open world MMO, but it's got crafting, building, assembling an army, all that good stuff. Now, one of their latest games, which they've released, which is a little bit different than these other, is called Mutant Year Zero. It's a tactical adventure game with turn-based combat, similar to XCOM, but it's got a story and stealth and strategy elements to it. So I actually haven't tried this yet, but just if you're interested, on Steam they've got a demo for download, so you can download it and check it out. So you can see, the first two games that I mentioned are standard MMOs, one science fiction, one more fantasy setting. But then Conan Exile is a bit more modern, still an MMO, but more modern. And now they've got then this Mutant Year Zero is it's a different style, tactical adventure. Some elements of their old games, but turn-based combat, that's different. So it shows that the company is, it starts out with something, it's branching out, it's they are improving their abilities in different eras or different genres to try to build some different games. So I think that bodes well for a Dune game. So what does this mean? Now, as I mentioned before, would Funcom be interested in doing an open world MMO type RPG game just set in the Dune universe? I mean, it would seem to be similar to what they've already done. Perhaps that could be some sort of revolutionary aspect to it. I'm not sure what that would be, but I don't think that the world of Dune itself leads to a good idea for an RPG. The planet of Dune is open and barren. You can't go around killing monsters. There's nothing there. It's all sand and desert with the occasional sandworm. I mean, that would be a cool element of it, but it would just not be the same. Perhaps you could set a Dune RPG in the entire universe of Dune, maybe in the Butlerian Jihad time frame. But again, if you're making Dune games, you probably want to focus the first one on the planet Dune, because that's what Dune is known for. Dune, right? So based on the fact that they're going to do an MMO, I would think it would be a different type of MMO, perhaps an RTS MMO. Dune has been was successful when it was an RTS. Those three Dune games were reasonably successful, and the fact that they attempted to do one, but just for whatever reason it didn't come together, maybe they would do an MMO with an RPG style, or perhaps something that would be based on Funcom's success with Mutant Year Zero and this tactical, adventure turn-based combat. I'm not sure how you would do that in an MMO, but I would guess that there'd be some sort of there's a reason that this company's been picked. There's some sort of mix in there, so we may see something very interesting, not just a standard MMO. We might see something unusual. Now, what would I like to see? I mean, I'm more of a fan of grand strategy games, and I think the Dune universe lends itself to a type of grand strategy, but not one focusing on combat so much. I would like to see a grand strategy game focused on the espionage, the politics, the political infighting, assassination, the jockeying for position amongst the houses. I think that would be a very interesting game. I'm not sure that it would be a good MMO, but perhaps for their second or third game would be something like that. There'd have to be some sort of combat. I mean, you want to invade Arrakis and take control of the spice and all that sort of stuff. But definitely something in that vein, I think, would be an excellent Dune game. Hopefully, Funcom is listening and they're working on that right now. So just to finish off, let's just summarize and conclude here. So there's really only two reasons for Brian Herbert to pick Funcom as a company. make games. One, there was either no one else who wanted to do it, or they have the kind of experience that Herbert wants to build the kind of game that he thinks is going to be successful, the kind of game they want to build. So, I mean, I don't believe that no one else would be interested in this type of. I mean, if you went and you said, "Hey, I own the rights to Dune. How would you like to make a video game about it?" You're a company. You've made lots of different games. You've worked on other properties, not your own properties, other properties such as Conan. Do you want to do this? I mean, there's a Dune movie coming out in 2020, in November of 2020. Dune, the Dune property is known for many years. It's been kept alive, and interest has been kept going on it by Brian Herbert and Kevin J. Anderson, releasing all these follow-up Dune books after Frank Herbert's original 6 books. So I think that any company would be interested in this property. So my guess would be, and I have no information, but my guess would be that this company was picked. It has some sort of experience or ability that fits in with what they want to do. So I think that looking at the past things that Funcom has done may give us some insight into the kind of game that they're going to be working on. So, in that vein, that's all I can give you right now, but be aware that I'll be watching Funcom and the Dune series and giving you any more information, any hints or anything we can find out about what's coming up for these Dune games. So check back often, subscribe if you're interested, and we'll bring you more Dune content as soon as we have it. Thanks. Bye.